This is a video for Module 1 practice test. If you have any questions over anything you don't understand the demonstration, let me know. We'll start with number 1. Alright, number 1 is negative 12.9 plus negative 4.9. So just remember, when you're adding two negatives, you add them together. So we're going to line them up. And then two negatives stay a negative. You owe money, so you're still going to owe money. So biggest thing with decimals is remember to line up your decimals. Alright, number 2 is negative 12 minus, and in parentheses 9 minus 11, so remember the order of operations. So we do parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, left to right, add, subtract, left to right. So we're going to do parentheses first. So I'm going to do 9 minus 11. So 9 minus 11 is negative 2. Kept it in parentheses just so that I know that that's a negative. If you remember the rules about double negatives, that makes a plus. And then if you're adding two numbers and they're opposite signs, you subtract and keep the sign of the larger. Alright, number 3, 3/4 plus 1/6. So to be able to add this, we need common denominators, which means our bottom has to be the same. So 4 and 6 both go into 12. You could use something larger like 24 or 48, but if you stay smaller, it makes it easier to reduce later. Alright, so kind of like filling in a blank here. Times this by 3. So this one becomes 9/12. Times this one by 2. So this one is 2/12. Keeps the same bottom. And then we'll just do the top. So negative 9 plus 2. We're adding, and then two opposite signs, so subtract, sign a bigger. So your answer is A. Number 4 is one big multiplication problem, so it doesn't matter what order you multiply in. That's the commutative property. Just be aware of your signs. So I'm going to ignore the signs first. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 times 1 is 14. 14 times 3 is 42. Then we count how many negatives we have. So we have an odd amount of negatives, so we have 3 of them. An odd amount means it'll be a negative answer. An even amount means they cancel each other out. So your answer is B. Number 5, doing division of fractions with signs. So I'm going to ignore the signs first, but remember, change to multiply and find the reciprocal, or flip your second fraction. You can multiply straight across if you want to. I like to cross cancel. So 10 went into a 10 once, 10 goes into 20 twice, straight across. 3 times 2, 1 times 7. Then a negative times a negative is a positive. So your answer is C. Number 6 is an order of operations problem. Do the top first, then the bottom. Alright, so remember, order of operations says parentheses first. I'm going to do the top first, so there is no parentheses. Exponents, so 1 cubed, that's 1 times 1 times 1, that's still 1. And then 4 squared is 16. 1 take away 16 is negative 15. So there's our top. Alright, our bottom we do parentheses first, so 2 take away 7 is negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, so we're left with negative 15 over negative 15. Negatives cancel out, and then any number divided by itself is 1 by itself. So your answer is D. Alright, number 7, another order of operation problem. I'm going to work on the top first. So order of operation says do multiplication first. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. 9 minus negative 4 is the same thing as 9 plus 4, 4. So we got 13 for our top. The bottom we have two multiplication problems that are being subtracted. So negative 4 times negative 2 is 8. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. That's the same as 8 plus 18, so we get 26. This all reduces down to 1/2. Number 8 is a multiplication problem. We need numerators and denominators. I'm going to ignore my signs first. I'd like to cross cancel to make things a little easier. So 7 goes in here once, 7 goes in here twice. Can't do anything else. So our top is 29 times 5, which is 145. Our bottom is 2 times 1 times 2, which is 4. You can leave it in this form. Do not have to make it into a mixed number. And then I look back at my signs. I have two negatives. Two negatives cancel each other out and make a positive. So your answer is 145 over 4. Alright, number 9. Evaluate 2x squared minus 4 if x is negative 3. So I'm just going to plug in this negative 3 where my x is. And then make sure you follow your order of operations. Exponents first. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Multiplication is second. And then we can subtract third. So our final answer is 14. Number 10, same deal. Everywhere I see an x, I'm going to put negative 2. Everywhere I see y, I'm going to put 5. And I always plug mine in parentheses. That way if I have a letter next to a number, then I remember that's multiplication. Alright, so the top, multiply, multiply, subtract. So we have negative 8 minus 30. And on the bottom, a negative and negative make a positive. So at the top you have negative 8 take away 30, so we're in the whole $8. We're going to go take 30 more out, so now we're in the whole $38, and this reduces to negative 19. Number 11, same thing. Plug in the appropriate values for the appropriate letters. So if I look at this, we have multiplication, multiplication, and subtract when we get finished. So let's look at the first one. So that's our first problem. If you don't cross cancel, it's just negative 6 over 3, which is negative 2, but I like to cross cancel. So I got negative 2 for the first one. If we do 3/7 times 14 over 1, cross cancel, I get 6. Negative 2 minus 6, I'm owe $2. Going to take 6 more out, so now I am in the whole $8. Number 12. The only way you can simplify an expression is to combine like terms and get rid of parentheses. So the only way we can get rid of parentheses here is to distribute what's out front. Well, if we don't see anything, we can assume it's a negative 1. And then I'm going to distribute my negative 1 to the guys in the parentheses. Not touching the first thing. Negative 1 times 2y is negative 2y. Negative 1 times negative 3 is a positive 3. We can go further by combining like terms. 7 take away 2. So our final answer is 5y plus 3. If you feel like I'm moving too fast, just remember this is a recording, so you can always hit pause, get yourself caught back up, and then hit play. Alright, number 13 is same thing. The only way to get rid of parentheses is to distribute. So negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative y is positive 3y. Negative 3 times positive 7 is negative 21. None of these terms are the same. This is x, this is y term, and this is just a constant, so this is your final answer. Always check to make sure you can't combine like terms or you're going to miss a problem. Alright, number 14, same thing, we're just combining like terms. So I'm going to put my x squares together. So there's my problem for my x squares. So negative 9 take away 7 is negative 16. Negative 16 plus 3 is negative 13. And then that has that x squared. This guy here has nobody, so we're just going to tag him on to the end. Alright, number 15, distribute first. Just like order of operations says, always do your parentheses first. So a fourth times x is a fourth x. A fourth times negative 12, we'll just kind of do it over here. So if you go straight across, it's negative 12 over 4, or you can cross cancel. And I get negative 3. Then this 5, 6 tags along because we didn't touch him. I can put these two things together. To be able to put them together, we need common denominator, which is 12. So this one is times 3. And this one's times 2. 3, and the bottom will stay 12. And then 3 take away 10, you have 3, you're taking 10 away, you're in the hole now. Alright, so we put the x's together. And then this guy here had nobody to go with, so we're just tagging them onto the end. So negative 7 to 12's x minus 3. Number 16 is just combining like terms again. So we can put these together and these together. So just be careful of the signs. 2/3 take away a half. We need a common denominator, which is 6. This is times 2. This is times 3. So we have 4 take away 3, so we have 1/6, and that's our x. Then I'm going to go over here and do our y. So same thing, we need a common denominator. 5 and 6 is 30. This one's times 6. This is times 5. Bottom stays the same. Negative 24 plus 5, so if we're in a hole 24, we deposit 5. We're still in the hole, but we're in the hole 19. And this is your y. When you put them together, 1/6x minus 1930y. So the sign of your second term is always what goes in between your two terms. Alright, number 17. Be careful on these. If there is no parentheses, if there are no parentheses, then you're squaring just what you're touching. So in this case it's touching a 5, so that's what we're squaring. Then the negative sign goes out front. It means this in math. So it's the opposite of 5 squared. So negative 25 is your answer. On number 18 there is parentheses, so that's the difference between the two. There is parentheses, it's touching the parentheses, so that means everything inside is getting squared. Negative and a negative make a positive. Number 19. Best thing to do is left to right. So we're going to do 73 plus 81 first. Take away 14. Add 92. And subtract 74. And we get 158, and it's positive. We never went below 0. Number 20 is another simplified problem, so we're going to distribute and then subtract. Alright, so we do 5 times x, 5 times negative, or 5 times 2, positive 2. Now you can include this negative when you distribute. It will simplify it for you if you do that. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. Combine like terms. So 5 take away 3 is 2. 10 plus 18 is 28. 821 is another evaluate where we're plugging in values. Oops, says an absolute value bar. So remember, the absolute value bars are like parentheses. The only difference is whatever comes out of it has to be positive. So you do it first because it's in the parentheses category, but just remember to make it positive. So negative 10 times 3 is negative 30, but the bars make it a positive 30. Multiply next. 15 times 4 is 60. Negative and negative make a positive. And then with our positive 30, we get 90. 22 is another distributive property. So we're doing 2 and then combining like terms. So negative 9/10 times 10x equals negative 9x. Negative 9/10 times 20 is negative 18. Negative 3/7 times 14 is negative 6x. Negative 3/7 times negative 70. Negative and negative make a positive. Combine like terms. So negative 9 take away 6 is negative 15. Negative 18 plus 30 is positive 12. Number 23, if a coin is dropped from the roof of the ledge of a 50-foot high and lands on the bottom of a 10-foot pool, how far did the coin travel from the ledge to the bottom of the pool? So a picture helps on these. So here is our pool, and here's our ledge. So if we're standing up here, and we're going to drop a coin, and it's going to go all the way down to the bottom. So we know that from here to here, it tells us that we're at 50 feet. And then it tells us from here to here is 10 feet. So if we're going the whole distance, we're at 60 feet. Number 24, Joe has to pay bills in the amounts of $291.06, $37.55, $6.50, and $129.88. How much money, if any, does he have after he pays the bills if his paycheck is for $13.25? So we can add all these up first. Just remember to line up your decimals. And I'm just going to do one at a time. Third and last one. So I came up with his bills costing $1108.49. His check is for $13.25. So make sure that you line up decimals, which means on your $13.25 you have to add that place value. So I get $216.51. So I'll just pay attention to the borrowing, and you can always add these two, and you know that'll equal your original. Alright, number 25, the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest point in Africa, is 1932 feet above sea level. Qatar Depression, Egypt, one of the lowest points in Africa, is 436 feet below sea level. What is the difference in elevation between the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro and Qatar Depression? So again, we want to draw a picture. So here's our sea level. Sea level indicates 0 feet. So here in Africa, we know it's 19,321 feet. And then we know that this place in Egypt down here is 436 feet. So we want to know the difference between the two. We're going to add the two together. And when I add them together, I get 19,757 feet. Alright, if you have any questions, let